Hi, Warpugs. Every so often, I am told about an event that happened that I didn't know about that quite literally breaks the fabric of reality and convinces me the aliens will never speak to us. This is one of those events. In a late night conversation that I had with a few very wonderful people, one of them, whose name for some reason I went and asked about, and now the name of which has fled my mind, and I don't understand why. It makes me want to cry. Told me about this incident and several others involving a particular airplane company. But this one in particular, this one was special. And History of Everything told me that he was making a video about it. And I was sitting here, and I was like, who do I want to torture with knowledge about how just utterly god-awful this world is sometimes? And I thought, why not torture Valk? Because she does it to me all the time. Hi, Valk.
Hi.
Valk, I know the basics of this story. This is a 20-minute video. I got a 30-second synopsis, okay? So if you want me to pause and talk about it, the word of the day is Nani. Alright?
Or Fortnite Battle Pass?
No, Nani, okay? As JoJo as you can make it, okay? Because this story with the 30-second synopsis gave me a brain cramp, okay? Are you ready?
Sure, I guess. I don't know what's happening.
Warpugs is History of Everything. Prepare to lose faith in humanity. Communism sucks. Let's go. Valk, this is called Soviet Jazz Band Hijackers.
What?
Let's go.
I've spent the last 3 months writing about, well, absolute misery. The G word I can't say because YouTube will find me and spank me, chambers with spicy air, slave revolts, the Rhodesian Bush War, and I think at this point my videos are going to become damaging to your mental health if I don't take a break from the sadness and the misery.
Nay.
And, you know, have a bit of a laugh every now and then. So with that in mind, let's have a little perusal, if you will, a little look-see, perhaps, into the time a Soviet jazz band hijacked an airliner. No, I did not stutter.
Oh, what?
No, say it right or don't say it at all.
Let's
Valk.
What? Yeah, I'm concerned. I hear a jazz fan hijacked an airplane. What the frick?
Valk, this is why I said the code word of the day is Nani. I got the 30-second synopsis of this. Let's go.
just get ourselves situated. It's the 8th of March, 1988 in the Soviet Union, specifically over here in Siberia. And things aren't very good in the Soviet Union.
Oh, no.
In fact, things are going quite poorly.
Oh.
There's a weird chicken ad on TV. No one has any food. Everything is sadness and misery, and, well, Gorby's, well, Gorbying. The city where this all begins is Irkutsk.
By the way, that was an actual Pizza Hut commercial when Gorbachev appeared.
Okay.
City in Siberia that isn't really notable, save for the fact it was here during the Russian Civil War where the supreme leader of the White Russian forces, Alexander Kolchak, was executed.
Oh, rip, homie.
And his mistress, who he was calling his wife, even though his wife was in, I think she was in France, but he had another wife. She kind of got away.
Okay.
And then the Reds were really confused about why he had another wife, and they were asking questions. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it.
Cool beans.
One other point of note is that Irkutsk is right next to the Angara River and Lake Baikal. I've actually been to Irkutsk. It's an alright city. And it was almost a decade ago now. Look, there's 18-year-old Hogue right there.
Yeah, there he is.
And it's
There
a violently Russian city. The city in the same block, and I kid you not, in the CBD in the same block, will go from Tsarist house with outdoor water pump and dirt road to Commie block with questionable Road
Questionable.
to Glass Building, all along the same block. It's quite literally bang, 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 bang. Here, look, there's a photo of the area I stayed in. They're all right next to each other in the same shot. The airport is probably the best example of what kind of city this is. Here is the modern airport, and here is the old one, which is the international terminal. That brings...
I love how one looks bright and shining, the other one is just airport!
But why the frick
Just to
is
the-
it that ugly, like, hospital blue?
Yeah, it's rather no.
main
It
characters
looks
of our
like a
lovely story today.
1950s
The
dish.
Ovetchens.
What?
Generally speaking, when you think of a hijacking, you think of a terrorist group. The attacks in New York in 2001 with the building that can't be shown on YouTube. You know, extremist stuff. But the people who hijacked this plane were none of these things. There was no cult connection to the Ovetchens, there was no CIA payoff, there was no connection to a terror organization, there was no weird sort of philosophy, political party, or any other kind of dissident. They were just a family of people who wanted to get out of the Soviet Union, which at the time was in its death throes.
Valk,
I mean,
this picture is the hijackers.
why does it sound like... Okay, why does it give off I am from Florida, and I'm the Florida man,
Valk,
and I hijacked an airplane?
this is why the code word of the day is Nani.
The family originally came from Perm Krai, but they did live in Irkutsk. The family was headed by the mother, a 51-year-old woman, Nina Sergeyevna Ovetchkin. Nina's husband, Dmitry, known for drinking heavily and threatening to beat the crap out of his wife and children, had passed away in 1984,
Granted.
probably in an alcohol-related incident, so it was all on Nina to run the family and make sure they had enough money to, well, eat.
Okay.
The Ovetchkins, by all accounts, were quite poor, subsiding on homegrown vegetables to sustain their large family. The oldest Ovetchkin child actually died in infancy, and Nina decided from here that she would have as many children as possible, getting to work on making 10 more children, and even
Holy
getting
God.
an award from the Soviet state for
Very
popping out
busy.
a bunch of little communists. Evidently, the family didn't own a TV or have any other hobbies, considering the amount of time they had on their hands. Nina would have in total 7 sons and 3 daughters that would survive into adulthood. As with many less privileged families in the good old Sovietsky Soyuz, the children found solace in the arts, particularly when it came to music. But Nina was a bit of a stickler for gender roles, and she only permitted her sons to take part in the hobby,
Okay.
believing that her daughter should work as support staff, making costumes, doing makeup, and cooking. You know, the whole put the cello down and go make me a butterbrot kind of thing. The
Okay.
sons would get together and form a jazz band known as the Seven Simeons, likely taking the name from an old book written by Boris, that's a word, Arty Bashev? Yeah, Artsy Batch.
My name Boris. We make jazz band, yes. Valk.
We make jazz band, but we also hijack an airplane. But continue.
Yes.
You know what? We'll go with that. But
Okay.
either way, the book is about where 7 brothers get together to find a wife for the future king. For the Siberians, the introduction of a jazz band was really popular, given this is a part of the world that is so remote it isn't funny, especially during this period. Something new and hip like jazz hit the locals like it was the Beatles in the 60s all over again. The band members were Vasily, aged 26, Dmitry, who was 24,
Okay.
and they acted as the managers of the band. The other brothers were Oleg and Alexander, ages 21 and 19 respectively.
Oleg. That is a very
Oleg.
Russian name.
I mean, I know someone whose name is Oleg, and he's a fucking killer 3D artist. But continue.
Igor, who was 17.
Igor.
Mikhail, 13.
Igor.
And little Sergei, who was 9.
Sergey.
That was a,
The
that is a
sisters,
movie
meanwhile,
and a
were
half.
Ludmilla, who was 32. She won't really be any further part of the story because by the time of the family's joyride, she moved away and had her own little family, and not even the KGB found any issues with her. So,
What?
you know, she's really just not part of the story at this point, and, you know, good for her. The younger sisters, who were acting as support staff and who were involved in the band, were Olga, Tatiana, and Uliana, ages 28, 14, and 10.
Shit.
As the band continued to play, they became more and more successful. Local authorities actually took notice and even allowed the band to be filmed, and the film distributed on Soviet TV. Somewhat of a shock considering that jazz was an import from the United States. It's a bit of speculation here on my part, but my best guess is that the USSR under Gorbachev didn't really care as much about jazz, given that the older governments had tried to ban it. This is really down to, well, glasnost and perestroika and the fact that
Yeah.
they were slowly starting to be open and drip-fed capitalism, such as the chicken ad. The band success meant for the first time that the family was
Valk, do you want some chicken?
No. Why does it?
Especially chicken forced through whatever horror machine that was.
Oh, jeez.
Come on, Valk, it's chicken.
was
Oh,
actually
yes,
starting to make a
KFC.
decent amount of cash. This did cause some issues for the younger members, though, who were supposed to be at school. Neenal, though, getting a bit too Hollywood managery, demanded that they continue touring, and that school was just simply not a priority. And in 1987, part of the family travelled to Japan on tour. Just the boys, though, the 7 Simians crossed the pond to Japan, and it was here that they sort of all had a collective light bulb moment, and they were like, hey, maybe we should live somewhere that isn't miserable and has stuff in the shops.
Oh, wow. For
The
real?
brothers decided, during their
No
little time in Japan, probably over a bowl of ramen or something, that it was time to get away from the USSR, but they wanted to bring their family with them. Upon returning to Irkutsk, the boys set about convincing their mother and 3 younger sisters that they should defect. Now, defection wasn't all that uncommon when it comes to the Soviet Union or, well, Eastern Bloc in general.
No.
Normally you would see people who were in the military running off at a port, or athletes and other artists simply refusing to go home. Not so much in this case. The family decided, for reasons unknown to man, or probably even God, because it makes no sense whatsoever, that they would escape by stealing an entire passenger plane.
Local Florida man steals a whole entire Boeing F-150.
F-150, Valk?
I don't know. Okay?
F-150, Valk.
I just took a Ford F-150 and said, yep, this is the most American thing I could think of.
Valk.
Yeah.
A Florida
Look.
man would steal a plane that was an F-150. Because it makes no sense. Let's go.
Exactly.
The family put some thought
Vodka,
into
probably.
what to do and how to escape, and they decided that their best chance was to hijack Flight 3739, a regularly scheduled Aeroflot
I love that
service between
graphic.
Irkutsk and Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, and to order the pilots to fly to London. Again, I have no idea why they picked London and not Finland, or Sweden, or Norway, or any
Anywhere.
other possible country on the way, or to the east, or just Japan, which they've already been to.
Nippon.
The plane in question was the Tu-154B, and on this particular flight there were 84 people aboard, 76 passengers including the Ovetchens and 8 crew. The family had the idea that they could simply force the pilots to fly over to London by threatening them with shotguns, and if worse came to it, the family would just blow themselves up with homemade bombs.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, they had a 9-year-old with them, and they were talking about blowing up the entire plane full of people because they
Communism sucks. Take the hint.
just wanted to leave the USSR. But how do you get shotguns and explosives onto a civilian passenger jet?
Because
This
it's
is actually
Soviets?
quite difficult, and it would clearly require some highly specialized big brain thinking.
No, it didn't.
The
Nope.
family took a couple of flights on their tours, and they began to notice that the double base wasn't
Big
able to
boom.
fit inside the X-ray machines at the local Irkutsk airport. Going full Dmitry Bondovich here, the elder brothers decided to saw off their shotguns and add in super secret spy compartments inside their double base, where they could sneakily conceal their weapons and bombs. Weirdly enough, this worked, and on the 8th of March 1988, the family managed to get aboard Flight 3739, leaving from Irkutsk, arguing that the instrument was simply too valuable to be put in the cargo hold, and recognizing that it was too big to fit in the X-ray machine. Apparently nobody
Oh my
questioned this,
God.
and somehow the family managed to get a giant double base into the cabin. All 11 family members were now aboard, with their weapons and their bombs.
Yay!
Ludmilla, as I mentioned, stayed at home with her family, not wanting any part of this and likely not knowing it was going to happen, and at 8:05 AM, the plane took off.
Soaring so
Now, what if-
high above the world. Never thought I would be so dumb. God, what? All right,
It's more like I will show you the world with bums.
I will
in
show
Russia.
you the world. Shotgun out of the base.
Flash the photo of the plane on screen before, you may have caught yourself thinking there's no way that could fly from the middle of Siberia to London.
No.
You are correct. It couldn't. It couldn't even get halfway. And so the Tu-154 would briefly stop in Kurgan, and the Ovetchens acted totally normal during the stopover in the initial flight, causing no reason for alarm to any of the other crew or passengers. The 4 crew members flying the aircraft on this leg were Captain Kuprianov, co-pilot Insimov, engineer Stupakov, and navigator Kravchenko. The cabin crew members were Irina Vasilevya, Valentina Nikolaeva, Alexei Dinorsky, and Tamara Zakaya. The Ovetchens sitting at the back of the plane opened up the double base at around 3 PM with about an hour and a half to Leningrad to go, and using their shotguns threatened the other passengers to sit down. The elder brothers would then hand a note to the flight attendant, Irina, simply stating to fly to London, and if you descend, we will blow you up. The flight attendant immediately took the note to the cockpit, and the pilots debated on what best to do. The hijackers at no point thought maybe one of us should be in the cockpit.
Right.
I just want to point that out. See, the thing is,
being in Siberia makes you really dumb.
The aircraft was only holding enough fuel to get to Leningrad. Any further would end up with the aircraft in the Baltic Sea, not even being able to make it to Helsinki in Finland, let alone London, with the fuel aboard. Because it's a small plane. In 1996, 2 years after this actually, a pilot flying for Ethiopian Airlines was faced with a similar situation and held at gunpoint. He flew as long as he possibly could and attempted to ditch, but the crash ended in the loss of many of his passengers. This kind of scenario, although that one particularly happened afterwards, would have definitely been going through the pilot's head here. Knowing that there was a chance that this exact situation could occur to the aircraft, the flight engineer Stupakov attempted to negotiate with the hijackers, and he actually succeeded, with the Ovetchens agreeing that the plane could land to refuel in Finland, not the USSR.
Okay.
And so the pilots relayed the message to the ground crew. Yeah, the hijackers let the pilots relay a message to the ground crew, and they didn't listen in on the communications.
Oh god.
They weren't really thinking this through.
Nani?
This is like 101 of not how to hijack an airplane, but
This is like Darwin Award level stupid, okay?
This is the Florida Man version of how to hijack a plane.
This is Florida Man stupid.
Ground crew, shockingly, called up the Soviet military command and said, hey, there's a hijacking. They've got a whole airliner. And the Soviet military command turned around and scrambled their fighter jets, with the very Soviet order of, yes, you are to blow the plane full of passengers out of the sky should it dare to leave the Soviet Union. A very calm and rational response there from the Soviet high command.
Surprised.
The pilots likely knew this was going to happen though. They decided to pull a sneaky by landing at Vestchevo Air Base, just near the Finnish border. At the Vestchevo, the ground commander kind of realised when he got the radio call that the pilots were kind of cooking something together, given their course and speed. And so the Soviets decided to use Sneak 100, and they began to paint Finnish language all over the hangars and buildings and dress the area up as a Finnish airbase. It's rumoured actually that they managed to sew together a fake Finnish flag to make it look like they were landing in Finland. The jig was up pretty quickly though, because nobody told the Soviet troops to maybe not walk around the plane with AK-47s. You know, the stereotypical Soviet weapon. Big brain. Needless to say, the Ovetchens blew a gasket and threatened to start just randomly shooting passengers. Now, the flight attendant Tamara Zakaya tried to reason with Dmitry Ovetchkin that the situation was pretty well hopeless, because it was the Soviet Union, they were not letting them take off, and in return he just shot and killed her. 3 hours would pass, and the Soviet authorities tried to negotiate, but the Ovetchkins would refuse any kind of de-escalation, refusing to even let women and children off the plane. The flight engineer would try and trick the hijackers by plugging a refueling hose into the wing to give the illusion of refueling. The pilots were simply trying to buy as much time as possible in order to allow an anti-terror assault team to arrive from Moscow.
Valk?
Yeah, this is the levels of stupid.
This is glorious.
This hurts my soul.
This is glorious.
This hurts my soul.
This is so stupid.
Oh yes. We will take plane. Do we know what we're doing?
No.
No.
Da.
As the hours passed, the Ovetchkins became more and more on edge, and it was about now they adopted their, well, we have nothing to lose point of view.
Yay.
The pilots reported that the passengers were being shot, and they were giving into the demands to start the engines to save as many lives as possible. Now, on that, I believe the passengers were about to be shot, not actually being shot at this time. It's kind of hazy because we're dealing with Soviet records here.
Right.
The radio call was that they were being shot, but the radio call also might have been that they were about to be shot. Go Soviet archives!
Yep.
That were actually allowed.
Hey, Valk. Valk.
Yes.
The Soviets suck.
I mean, that's why they're called the... I'm not going to finish that statement.
To see because Putin shut them off. The Soviet authorities decided that it was go time and that they couldn't wait any longer and there was no way that plane was leaving the base.
Yay.
And so they sent in 2 teams of local police, approaching from the rear of the aircraft on each side, while 5 more police armed with pistols and AKs climbed into the cockpit through dropped ropes and ladders thrown up against the doors.
What?
Now,
What? Wait, what? They didn't have anybody in the cockpit? These guys were dumb. That's just dumb.
So they were in the fucking cockpit of the airplane?
They put
What?
ladders up and climbed into the cockpit, and the people in the hijackers didn't notice this.
the Soviet police did here. Did they A, clear the cabin slowly and methodically?
No.
B, did they order the Ovetchkins to the floor?
No.
Or C, did they just start blasting?
Yes.
I don't need to answer that, do I?
No.
You already know the answer.
Yes.
The Soviet police started indiscriminately unloading into the cabin, while the rear assault teams entered, and Ovetchen shouted to ask the captain to tell them not to shoot. As the police came in from the rear, Alexander Ovetchen detonated his explosive, killing himself and setting a small fire in the towel that the surviving flight attendants quickly put out. Nina was then shot dead by her eldest son Vasily, who she had asked to shoot her should the plan fail.
Oh my
He
god.
then turned the weapon on himself. Dmitry, Oleg and Alexander set off another bomb and shot themselves, while 17-year-old Igor hid in the toilet. There is some conjecture on whether Vasily shot his brothers and then killed himself, or the brothers shot themselves. I mean, the outcome was the same, so, little column A, little column B, either way they all died. The 28-year-old and now pregnant Olga, along with Tatiana, Mikhail, Uliana and Sergei, hid inside during this event and survived, but Sergei was actually shot in the leg by either possibly return fire from one of his brothers or a police officer. We don't actually know. The fire set by the second bomb would largely destroy the aircraft.
And he got shot by his own brother because of how dumb this is.
I don't know. Like, this has gone to pot really bad. Like, everything about this is stupid. There is no bright spots. Everyone is dumb.
Escape slides that the passengers would actually be able to get out and survive the hail of bullets. The Soviet soldiers and police officers still kept shooting while the passengers were getting out and not realizing that the situation was over because the Ovetchkin brothers had all decided to paint the plane in a shade of pink.
Oh my god.
Decided to just randomly start beating escaped passengers who tried to flee the plane. Because it's the USSR, what did you expect? The police...
This is as bad as watching someone from League of Legends being outplaced into enemy territory and you wonder why the frick are they even alive.
Like, seriously.
That's how much this hurts my soul.
This is why the Soviets suck so much. It's like, oh, we get a chance to be utterly and complete. Like, do we do the smart thing? Do we do the thing that respects human rights? Or do we just hurl bodies at the ground, usually with bullet holes in them, until the problem just seems to cease to exist? It's always option C.
Let the floor. Let the bodies hit.
It's always option C.
Meanwhile, kept up the fire and shot and killed 3 passengers, a woman and a man, ages 69 and 70, and a young 24-year-old bloke who was sitting on the plane. The indiscriminate shooting led to a further wounding of between 20 and 36 other passengers. Sources vary here, but what we know is 14 of these people were injured severely.
Oh my god.
The eldest Ovetchkins that survived, Igor and Olga, were tried on the 6th of September and sent to 8 years and 6 years in prison apiece. Olga would later give birth to a healthy baby girl, Larissa, while in prison, before getting out and then being beaten to death by her boyfriend in June 2003.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that got dark, but that's pretty well par for the course of the value of women in modern Russia, so, go figure.
This is true. Why Russia is about to decriminalize wife beating. It fits with traditional values. I'm sorry, but what?
What? Are they gonna now wear the traditional wife beater outfit too?
Oh my god, this is what happens when you have huge bottles of vodka and dance around in tracksuits. This is what happens, man.
Ay. We do not condone this sense of action. Or we condone this sense of action.
This is
this is so bad.
This is so stupid.
But why?
Because it's Russia, Valk.
It's so bad. Oh yeah, it's cool to hit women now. Let's go.
Because it's Russia. Because it's Russia. That's the deal. That's
Look,
oh
you know
my
what Russia's
God.
missing out?
What is
Mooding.
Russia? What?
Mooding.
Mooding?
Mooding.
Look,
M-O-O-D-E-N-G.
I know. The little baby hippo in Taiwan. Believe me, they don't need mooding. They do. They need a lot of things. Okay, they need a lot of things.
They need to make a wife beating criminal again.
This is
It's all bad.
Wow.
Even the Florida man at least has some decency.
My God.
Figure. Igor would sadly not have a good life. Back in prison a few years later, after his release, where he too would be killed and beaten in a brawl.
Okay.
Go Russia.
Yep.
Mikhail and Sergei continued performing, with Mikhail suffering a brain injury while living abroad in Spain. And nobody really knows what happened to Sergei after this, but I couldn't really find any information on him.
Insert death by some combination of vodka and violence. Let's go.
Ludmilla, meanwhile, had a series of very angry Soviet police come knocking back at Irkutsk, questioning what in the seventh hell had just happened. The Soviets, for their little time in existence that remained, decided that they would now tighten their security, and that maybe in future they would actually have a look at the practice of hostage rescue, and perhaps that it might not be the best idea to just go in shooting everyone.
Oh,
This
really,
lesson
you
would be
think?
promptly ignored in
Really?
2004 when 334 people died in the Beslan school hostage situation when the Russian security forces just went fuck it and stormed in.
Russia. I don't understand.
They said it's called the Geneva Checklist.
Valk, this wasn't even. This was a Look at how messed up this place is. This was supposed to be a hostage rescue. They did more damage and killed more people than the people that took the hostages. Okay?
I bet you the Florida man can successfully help a hostage situation than what the fuck this is.
I'm pretty sure the Florida man could do a lot better than Russia in a lot of ways, because the Florida man wouldn't run out of gas 20 miles into the Ukrainian border. I'm just saying.
He's got gators.
He's got them gators.
The flight attendant who was murdered during this event, Tamara, would actually receive the Order of the Red Banner for her bravery,
And finally, there's something that happens that I'm not in disagreement with that the Soviet Union did, because she deserved it. She tried her best, and it's sad what happened with her. I mean, there's not much you can do when you're dealing with people that are this stupid.
I believe there is a nice memorial that is around that region in Vyshevo, but I couldn't really confirm it, and I'm not really on any speaking terms with any Russians living in that area. In 1999, the Russians actually made a movie about this film called Mother. I kind of want to watch it, to be honest. So we might watch party that at one time. But yeah, that is the story of how a jazz band hijacked a Soviet airliner. To be honest, it was all for nothing because barely 3 years later the USSR was gone, so but that's hindsight. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you all next time.
And I gotta get this back here. Valk, what do you think about this glorious jazz band?
We realize how fucked Russia is as far as their way of helping in air quotes, and I put helping in air quotes like
It's like Sergi,
Bold.
we're here to rescue the hostages. Put down the RPG, it won't help matters. It's like, what the hell are they? This is Russia. This is Russia. This is Russia. This is Russia. My God. And nothing's getting better. Nothing's getting better. They're so... I don't understand what it is. Like, do they pickle their brain in, like, high amounts of alcohol thinking it'll make them smarter? Is that what happens here? Valk, why are people so stupid?
Yes. Pray and pray, as they say.
Or pugs. This was the story.
Florida man like a beer, like just give Florida man like a Budweiser, freaking Gators, maybe like a huge propane tank.
Yes.
Maybe a sawed-off shotgun.
Yes.
You know, and he'll take care of everything. And,
he will take care of everything.
Will still live.
Yes, and everybody will be alive.
That's actually kind of funny. I trust the Florida man now.
Yeah, because this is Siberian man, okay? Siberian men. This is what happens when you live. Jesus Christ.
Which unhinged uncle do you want?
The
Florida
level,
man or Siberian?
Give me Florida man every time, because they're not. Florida man is gonna do some crazy stuff.
But it'll be successful, and you wonder why he rolled a nat 20, but he does all the time.
He just literally chain rolls nat 20s. Meanwhile, Siberian jazz band can't figure out that you might want to have somebody up in the cockpit. And the Soviet cops... Valk, I can't with this. This is... Warpugs... This was History of Everything's Soviet jazz band Hijackers. If you have lost faith in humanity, let me know in the comments down below, because I certainly have. Warpugs, I'm going to take off from here. Me and Valk are going to take off from here. I'm going to go cry in the corner. I'm going to go cry in the corner now, because my will to live has been destroyed. No. I don't get to play games anymore. Warpugs, I'm gonna go cry in the corner because my will to live has been shattered by Soviet jazz band players. There is no more hope for the future. We're all lost. It's done. Everything is done. The aliens will never speak to us, Valk. We are never going to Mars. We will not see the future. It is done. Man.
You know what? At the end of this thing, you should do the meme where the kid plays the trombone and the girl's covering her ears, but instead of the girl, it's you.
No.
You should put that in.
No. Yeah. Oh, no. Don't make me. No, I don't wanna.
Do it.
No. Warpugs. All the history, everything's linked in the description down below. Subscribe to him, subscribe to me. Leave a comment down below. I'm gonna cry. Join as a channel member or a Patreon. I'll catch you guys later. Valk, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.